Welcome to the channel, Nature's Reality 360, where we bring you the reality of nature. Today is Tuesday, October 24th, and we're going to be talking about sea gypsies, okay? Or what I'm calling fish people. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. I actually really admire these people. They're very impressive. We're going to go over what makes them so special, and it's going to bring up a broader topic that I'd like to get into a little bit, just to get your mind thinking. So let's jump right into it. So who am I talking about? You see on the screen here, this is one of these fine gentlemen. They are a group of Asian people. They're called the Bajau, and they're a seafaring group of nomads who live entirely on sea boats that look like this. Okay, they spend their entire lives on the water. They only come in contact with local villages for trading, and if they're seeking refuge from like a storm. They eat a diet of almost entirely fish. Okay, and what they can do that's special is water. This is why I'm calling them fish people. They can dive 100 feet with no equipment, where someone like you or I, we would need weights, scuba gear. They do it just with the skin on their back. They can go 100 feet underwater and dive. They can hold their breath 6 times longer than the average person. So me or you, we could hold our breath about 2 minutes. The average Bajau person, or every Bajau, I'm sorry, it's the average regular person is 2 minutes. Every Bajau is like 13 minutes. They can hold their breath for 13 minutes. They can dive 100 feet underwater. And we're going to talk about why they're able to do that. So scientists in 2018 said we need to start researching why these people are so capable underwater. So they started looking into them. They did some studies, and what they found is very interesting. So listen to this. They found that their spleen is 50% larger than the average person's. Okay, so their spleen is 50%. That's like a half time, 1.5 of your spleens. Okay, and what the spleen does is it makes red blood cells and it puts oxygen in your blood. So when you take that deep breath and you go underwater and you start running out of oxygen in your lungs, the oxygen in your blood can help you stay underwater longer. And your spleen is what makes your blood capable of having more oxygen in it. So being that their spleens are 50% larger than the average person's, they're able to stay under the water a lot longer. Okay, but that's not it. So they wanted to know how their spleens were growing so large, what was happening, and they found out they actually have a mutated gene. Okay, it's the PDE10A gene. Okay, their gene has actually mutated. This is like X-Men stuff. Okay, these people are like superhumans. So that gene is responsible for the thyroid hormone T4, and what T4 does is it regulates low oxygen levels when you have like stress or increased metabolism rates. So it's the same thing when you're underwater and you start running out of oxygen. This gene has made it capable for their spleens to grow larger. And they're saying that this gene mutation is what caused them to have the larger spleens. But that's not it. So there's a scientist named Richard Moon, okay? He's at a Duke University. Now, he did a study that found these people have much stronger lungs than everyone else. Okay, so he explained that when people experience ruptured lungs at deep depths, the Bajau don't. So where you and I can't go, a couple 100 feet. First of all, just to go 100 feet, we would need the weights and the scuba gear and all that. But if we wanted to go even further, we'd have to be in some type of vessel. Where the Bajau, they can go underwater 100 feet without equipment, but give them equipment, and then they're going 200, 300, 400 feet in just their skin, because their lungs are so much stronger. And what they compared it to is the people in Tibet. So in the Tibetan mountains, they found that these people also have much stronger lungs. And it's a little different. So with the Bajau, they're stronger under the water, which you have pressure from all that water. This is kind of the opposite. They're elevated in the Tibetan mountains. They actually call it the roof of the world. And from living up there, they've adapted, and now their lungs are so much stronger, because if you or I were to go to 15,000 feet, the air is so thin we'd probably pass out, to be honest. It would definitely be hard for us to breathe or do any strenuous activities. But these people, it's normal for them. Maybe being down here at sea level with us would be hard for them. But it's the same thing with the Bajau. So what that makes me start thinking is about like evolution. We know as humans we're made to adapt. We're very capable of adaptation. We're great at molding and mending and adapting to any given situation. You put a human being in a rough situation, in rough circumstances, in extreme situations, and we're capable of adapting pretty quickly. So this type of thing where you see a genetic mutation now because they've been living in the water, amongst the water, just a 100% water lifestyle, their genes are actually mutating. So then that makes me start thinking like an evolution type thing because, if evolution is what happened, then we've actually changed from like a fish or a monkey or whatever it is into a human. That's like your whole entire DNA code would have to change. So a genetic mutation further backs that up, right? Because listen, let me just explain where my head's at. I like to get into broader topics, as you see. So one thing turns into another thing, and I just like to get people thinking. I also like to bring stuff to people's attention that maybe you didn't know. So I find a story like this, and I want to bring it to everyone's attention. Look, there's people whose genes are actually mutating. We have like real life X-Men running around, and it also brings me into these larger topics. How did everything start from day one? Okay, so yeah, I mean, I do think that human beings are just really good at adapting, and maybe something like that, you put someone in the water every day of their life, they're going to adapt, right? But then when I see a gene mutation, like I said, that could further prove other theories. So that's all. They're all theories. I'm not making any stance here. I'm just trying to get your brain going, get you thinking a little bit. So yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments. What do you think about the Bajau people, the sea gypsies as they call them? Unfortunately, I will end on this note. They are starting to integrate into society now. You can't escape technology, and they're saying the fishery is totally different now, and it's kind of affecting their way of life. So, that's more of a negative point to end on, but that's just another thing to think about. I like to preserve native ways of thinking, native traditions, and when you see groups like the Bajau disappearing, that to me is like I need to raise awareness for that. We need to let people know because we used to get all our information from our ancestors, and all these people are our human ancestors. And when you're getting information from your ancestors, it's a lot more accurate than getting your information from like the news, the mainstream media, right? So we don't want all these native groups and native tribes and native people to just vanish. We have to do what we can to help preserve their ways of life, or at least continue their ways of life, or share in their ways of life, maybe learn from them. So like I said, it's just all stuff to think about. Let me know what you think down in the comments about all of that. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I really appreciate you being here. I hope you enjoy it. Tune in tomorrow for another great nature news story. Here at Nature's Reality 360, we're signing out, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.